Good morning, everyone. I am Lieutenant J. Arnold Clamon, retired United States Air Force, 33 years as a reservist, 28 years DoD civilian. The reason for this podcast, or the name of this podcast, is Lessons from the Line. And the whole purpose for this podcast is to interview first responders, military members, former military members, and to get their perspective on their lessons that they have learned from the line as they serve this country, to protect this country, and to keep this country safe. Each week, I will be interviewing somebody new and getting their perspective. We'll do a short introduction with each of them, and then we'll get busy with our questions. And so basically today I'm going to do a introduction interview of me, who I am, where I'm from, and what my takeaways and my perspective are for Lessons on the Line. As I stated, I'm J. Arnold Clamon. I'm a military brat. My dad retired from the Air Force after 24 years. Swore I would never join the military. And then after my first child was born and things were going tough as a young married couple trying to take care of everything, I remembered what it was like growing up in the military and having everything right there, anything and everything I could want. So I decided to join the military myself, get a college degree. I enlisted for 6 years, and lo and behold, 33 years later, I retired. So diving into our questions that I'm going to be asking each week. During my time on the line, what was my biggest takeaway? My biggest takeaway was knowing who I worked with and knowing that they had my back and I had their back, and that the military as a whole is a family within itself. And that if you didn't do your job, somebody could potentially get seriously injured or die. And knowing that you had to do that in the military, or even as first responders, if you don't do your job, somebody could potentially get hurt or die. So that was one of the biggest takeaways that I had, was knowing that somebody had my back and I had their back, and we could watch out for each other to get the job done and to know that our mission would be complete. One of my biggest regrets during my time serving in the military was probably not pursuing more educational, and I hated school. I hated anything designed with school, I despised. And that's probably from my upbringing and knowing that I changed schools every 2 to 3 years because of my dad's military job. I just hated school, didn't like it, hated studying. But where I am now, probably my biggest regret is not pursuing more educational benefits while I was serving, and pushing myself harder to do more and to learn more and engage more. During my time on the line, knowing what you know now, what would you have told your younger self? What I just mentioned there was, knowing what I know now, I would have told my younger self, chase your dreams early, but get an education early too. And the earlier you can get your education, the earlier you can get that knowledge in you, will sustain you longer and more throughout your life. But also, along with that, was not being more forthcoming with my faith. Most people that knew me knew that I was a Christian, but I wasn't vocal about it. And I wasn't, not to say pushy, but I was also one who would not call people down for their language or their reactions or anything like that. when I was around, and more so go with the flow, so to speak, just to fit in and not stand my ground. It's probably one of my bigger regrets. As I stated earlier, I served for 33 years as a reservist. I had 28 years civil service. So basically, as a reservist, my reserve position was tied to my civil service position. So what I did Monday through Friday was the same job that I did on my reserve weekends. So basically had my cake and got to eat it too. So when I retired, I retired with two paychecks, one from the military side, one from civil service DOD. So that was one of the benefits of serving so long, was the retirement pay. And when I joined the military, I joined as a two-striper, enlisted crew chief, and worked my way up. Did get my college degree and was able to get commissioned, and finally retired out of the Inspector General's office at Seymour Johnson in 2021 after 33 years. So moved 17 times within our career. My kids are now all over the country because of our moves. I have two in Michigan and one in Texas, and so my wife and I split our time between grandkids in Texas and grandkids in Michigan, and the rest of the time we're on the road sightseeing this beautiful country. What was my greatest achievement? That's a tough one, because there's so many awards and declarations that I received during my career. I guess my greatest achievement in my life, in my career, was actually being able to retire at the same rank that my dad retired as. He retired as a lieutenant colonel. I retired as a lieutenant colonel. And with that, I was able to leave every base that I left or transferred from in a better place than when I found it, or I hope I did anyway. That was my goal each time we moved, was to leave it better than what I found it. And I think that that would be my greatest achievement, was to retire as a lieutenant colonel and to have three beautiful kids, beautiful wife, still married to her, and that each of my kids all have beautiful marriages and beautiful kids. So, like I said, there's several achievements and things that I've been able to do throughout my career with the help of my wife and my family. And if you could title your story, what would it be? I would say the title of my story would have to be Hating Everything with the Military, but Achieving So Much More in the Military. Because as I was growing up, I hated moving all the time. Never had a hometown. And in my dad's career, we were, like I said, we were always moving every 2 to 3 years. So I never had a hometown, never had lifelong friends, childhood friends. I mean, I've got lifelong friends now just because of my military career and all that I did in my military. But sitting back and looking to see all of the benefits that my dad or the military provided our family because of his career was one of the leading factors that caused me to go into the military and know that the benefits that the military provided would benefit my family as well, and which it has. And when I first joined the military, like I said, I was an enlisted reservist, still working a civilian job until after Desert Storm, when I was able to get hired on civil service. So basically do my job as a civilian that I did as a reservist. And because of that, the benefits started increasing because of both jobs that I had. So that's just basically what I'll be doing with each of the interviewees that I interview each week. All of these podcasts will start posting in September. Well, I look forward to seeing and watching each of you. Please subscribe below to follow me and do all that YouTube stuff. Be blessed, folks, and don't stress. God's got it. Love you guys. See y'all next week.